Soft.
Soft power.
Powerful.
Soft.
Soft power.
Powerful stories.
Powerful.
Soft.
Powerful.
Stories.
My name is Christopher Wurst. I'm the producer and host of Soft Powerful Stories, and I'd like to welcome you to our first bonus episode. If you haven't already listened to the regular episode featuring Ambassador Pamela White, I encourage you to start there for a sampling of her long and prestigious career with the U.S. government. From the Peace Corps to USAID to becoming a 2-time U.S. ambassador, her stories are awe-inspiring. Today, though, I want to share her example of diplomacy in action. The scene is the Gambia, the smallest country on mainland Africa. It's known for its vibrant culture and for its namesake river, which runs the length of the country. However, it faces high youth unemployment, limited access to quality healthcare and education, and vulnerability to climate change impacts like coastal erosion. Following her nomination by President Obama, Ambassador White started her assignment in the Gambia in 2010. Ambassador White's counterpart there, President Yahya Jammeh, ruled the country for 22 years. His rule was marked by authoritarianism, human rights abuses, and bizarre claims, including that he could cure AIDS with herbs. None of these things, however, could stop a real diplomat.
Right now, it seems to me that diplomacy has become loud. It's on the front pages of the newspapers. In my training, in my world, what works really, really best is calm, behind-the-scenes, one-on-one diplomacy. The president of the Gambia was a character right out of a book. He wore the boo-boos, he wore the white hat, he had a lion's tail in one hand, he had beads in the other hand, and he was well known as being a dictator. He was well known that if he didn't agree with what you said, that you probably would not be seen for quite some time. Their jails were notorious, especially for 2 or 3 journalists that I tried very, very hard to protect. President Yahya Jammeh was also quite charming, one-on-one. I started really digging into this stuff. The Gambia had the highest children vaccination rate in all of Africa. The women were highly encouraged to go into prenatal visits. They had a very low prenatal mortality rate. So some of the stuff that President Yahya was doing for his country, especially women and children, girls in school, huge promoter of that. So I didn't want to break all the good stuff because he was doing good stuff, but he was also doing some really questionable stuff. He hated gays and made no 2 bits about saying it, on the radio. They were not humans, and that he would cut off this appendage and that appendage. He pretended that he had a cure for HIV/AIDS, which he obviously did not. He pretended that he had a cure for infertile women, that obviously he did not. He would call me to his office, and he would call and he would say to my secretary, "I need Madam Ambassador now. No guards, no don't take guards." And almost always, if you're going to see a president of a country, you have to have a guard. You have to have no favor. But no, neither one of those. So I would dress in my little ambassador suit. And I would go over and I would sit in his waiting room at the palace, which was 4 or 5 enormous chairs. I would be like in the chair. 4 more of me could have sat in these chairs. And I would be there, and they would serve me whatever I wanted to drink, tea, Coke, whatever I wanted to drink. So they'd let you stew down there for a little while, all by myself. And then they would take me up 4 or 5 stairs and they would put me into an elevator and they would close it and they would push a button. They would go up a floor and then the other side would open. I would get up and I would go 3 more steps and an iron door would be there. And someone would open that, and I would step into another space. I mean, by this time, the first time I did it, I was like, God, I could disappear in this place. Who the hell would know? My staff kind of knows I'm here, but no one's with me. I could be here an hour or 3 hours. Who knows? There was no time. There was no agenda. There was no nothing. Just get her over here. Finally, I get out, and it's his office. And his office is probably half as big as a basketball court. And he's at the way far end, sitting in a king's chair, if you will. It's gold, a big arm. He's got his bees. He's got his lion tail. He's got his hat. And he's got the white boo-boo. And he's got 6 or 7 security guards who are huge. So I sit down and I'm like, thank you for having me over, Mr. President. What can I do for you? I'd be happy to listen to any requests that you have. And he said, wow, you tell me, Madam Ambassador, why it is that BBC, every time I try to do anything good, all they talk about is he's anti-HIV AIDS and he's this and he's that, like I'm a bad president. Why do they do that, Ambassador? And I'm thinking, listen, either I have a chance to tell him the truth, or I can say, I don't know, it's so unfair, But I decided, hey, even with these giant guards here, I don't think they're going to kill me right in his office. So I started telling him, listen, what you're saying, that you are a tourism country. You have got a country you have to look out for here. There are hundreds, maybe thousands of people that are willing to come and spend tons of money on your beaches, in your hotels. Give a speech, Mr. President, about you have the highest vaccination rate in the whole continent of Africa. You give that speech. That's what you should be proud of. And of your women and of your girls in school, you give that speech. And that was sort of the end of that. Well, thank you very much. And then I would go back and he would talk about curing HIV/AIDS. And I'd say, Mr. President, this is all behind closed doors. I never went on radio to say this. I never went on TV to say this. Maybe you could work with our HIV/AIDS guys who are fabulous. And maybe we could work together and let your medicine men work with our medicine men. And he would sort of grumble and say, and then he would facilitate that. But it was his idea. It was not my idea. It was not the United States of America's idea. And that got really, really important, because if you're going to sell an idea to a country, best have the people in that country, especially the leadership in that country, buying your ideas. If they buy your ideas, yay, you've won. And so the day that I was leaving was on a Thursday. His birthday was on a Wednesday. And they had this huge birthday party at the palace outside. It was huge. There must have been 3,000 or 4,000 people, 2 or 3 tents, but a huge major tent with huge jumbotron. And the jumbotron it was showing him with farmers, with women, with babies, and all his successes. And which, de rigueur for dictators' birthdays. They're the greatest ever. And anyway, he had called me up that morning. His chief of staff had called me up and said, you must be at this birthday party by blah, blah, blah time. So I was. And I, watched a lot of this stuff going on. And then he said, and I stopped everything right in the middle. The band was playing. The jumbotron was going. Speeches was there. He said, stop everything. Ambassador White has got to come to the stage. And so I went to the stage and he started talking brutally, frankly, about, she comes to my office sometimes and she tells me things. And, sometimes I think she's right. Sometimes I think she's wrong. But I always think she's doing it because she loves the Gambia and she loves the Gambians. And I'm going to give her the biggest national award that we've ever given a foreigner. I'm going to give her my own, my favorite painting that I took from my house. I'm going to give her a new boo-boo, African boo-boo, because she loves African women, and I want to appreciate that. And they all clapped and stood, and it was a great moment. And I was up there, and I had this sash on, and an award, and the painting, and the whole thing. And then he said to me, "Can we go behind the jumbotron?" I said, "Yeah, Mr. President, we certainly can." And he didn't say anything else to me. He held both my forearms, not my hands, but sort of my forearms, and he looked me right in the face, and in this kind of light voice, he wasn't a heavy, deep voiced person, but he said, "Ambassador, thank you for telling me the truth. Talks about how even in a situation with a guy that was, pretty much got a negative from most human rights watchers and et cetera, there's still a way in. There's still a way of making a sane American voice heard and even listened to and even acted on. So yeah, that's how I think diplomacy should work.
Thanks to Ambassador Pamela White for taking the time to share her stories. Remember, regular episodes of Soft, Powerful Stories are out every Friday. And by following us and leaving a positive review, you are helping to reach more and more ears. For more about the show, including guest bios, photos, and some space for feedback, visit softpowerfulstories.org. Until next time.